It's been a wonderful week till now, and today I'm going to talk about fear and why fear rules our lives. Fear is something that has actually kept us enslaved. It has kept us from reaching our full potential. Fear is not just something that is an imaginary thing. I've heard many people in the past say that fear is doesn't exist. But I don't believe that. Fear does exist. Fear is very real. And it is not something that you should be running away from. And there are ways in which you can have control over fear. You can stay away from fear. You can master the fears that you have. But before we get into how fear works and how we can get rid of fear, I want to talk about today is what is fear? Why do you fear anything? Is fear there from the beginning, from the time that a child is born? Or is fear developed over a period of time? You always need to know what it is to understand how to overcome a certain situation. Now, fear is something that comes to us in two ways. The first one being the fear of that comes to you from the time you are born. The second one is fear that you acquire through time and through experiences in your life. Now, both of these kind of fears can be dealt with. It is not that you cannot deal with either one of these fears. You can deal with the fear that has come to you through childbirth, through the time when you were born, and it can also be that you can get rid of fear for the ones which you have acquired. Now, some of the fears that we have is before you are born. Now, the ones that you have which are before you are born are the ones that you inherit from your parents, from your generations. Now, these fears can be removed through understanding the nature of fear and why they exist. The second kind is something that is acquired over a period of time. Now, you'll be interested to hear this, but you even have, oh, Shannon, it's nice to see you here. The second type of fear that you have is the fear that is acquired. And it is really interesting. I just read a couple of days back that even animals have fear. Chimpanzees have been found to have fear, and they have acquired fear. So fear is not something that is only there in human beings. It is actually a survival tool. Now, um, many children, they don't know what a snake is. A couple of days back, we went to the beach and we saw a snake. Until the point that snake was crawling on the sand on the beach, till the point that somebody told us that that is a poisonous snake, we were intrigued and we tried to go near it. The moment I heard that it is a poisonous snake, and suddenly a gush of wave came in and it went into water. And all of us who were there on the beach, we were afraid that it might come and bite us. But till the point we knew that it was not a poisonous snake, we were not afraid of it. Fear is survival instinct. All fear is not bad, but fear and courage, both of them are actually imposters. They tell us about things which are not, which might never happen. You might win a situation, and that is what courage makes us do. It shows us the viewpoint in advance and shows us that there is something ahead of us. And when we look at that, we realize that we can achieve that. And because we can achieve that, we keep dashing towards it. On the other side, fear is what keeps us away from doing things which are not good. I just had a little bit of a discussion on a couple of forums, and I asked people, what is their greatest fear? One of the greatest fear that people have is losing relations, not having good relationship. Now, why is it that you're afraid to talk to your boss? Might be that is a fear that you have, talking to your boss. He has given you an assignment, given you a time frame, which is irrational, which is not possible. And you want to tell him on his face, this is irrational. There are two things that will keep you from saying that. Number one is you are afraid of talking to your boss and telling him that he is wrong. Why? Because you would lose the relationship that you share with your boss. Number two is you're afraid of losing the job. Now, both of these scenarios might happen, might not happen. You might go to your boss, tell him that this is irrational, I need a little bit of an extension. He might say, well, okay, I give you a little more time. So you might not lose the relationship, neither would you lose the job. But fear makes you think that both of these things are possible. On the other side, courage makes you think that you are invincible. And you go in rash and you talk to your boss in a very arrogant way. That is wrong. And you might lose your job. So fear and courage, both of these need to be treated the same way. But both of them are real. Both the possibilities are possible. Now, there is not just something, this is just a small example of fear that I'm talking about. The fear that you have from your childhood is something that needs to be dealt with healing of your spiritual self from your past traumas, which are not just from this time, but even from your generations that will be ahead of you, that is your parents, that is your grandparents. There are some fear that we acquire, and those can be dealt with by healing you spiritually on those terms. The second one, the acquired ones, we need to realize that everything is born out of a certain situation. Now, every child can go and touch the heat. And when they touch the heat, they know that the heat burns them and they move back. Now, that is fear of heat. If we go at that point and tell them that that is not something that happens all the time, and how to approach heat in a specific way, that fear would go away. When we are born with the sense of falling, that is a fear, and the sense of a loss in relationship. These are two very important fears that we have. And based on these two fears, all the other fears revolve around. We are emotional and relational beings. If you want to conquer your fear, you will have to work on relationships. You will have to work on getting rid of issues in your life, in your past, where those where those traumas and fear originate from. If you've had a relationship issue, you will be afraid of losing people. If you've seen death too many times, you will always be afraid of times when people might die. If you have had broken relationships, you will always be insecure and will have fear that your husband or your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your friend will go away from you. But it is not reality. It is not the truth. The truth is that you need to be cautious. You need to be cautious with both these two imposters. But at the same time, treat them as imposters and do what is right. Understand the origin of fear in your life. I'll be talking about how we can go ahead and understand what kind of fears we deal with, why we are so afraid of relationship losses, and how we can mend them. I'll be talking about this tomorrow and day after tomorrow at the same time. So be logged in and do watch and like the video. And if you want to see this later on, you can go to my YouTube channel and subscribe there. Have a good evening and have a good day to all my friends. Bye-bye.